Xenoblade Chronicles is a phenomenal action RPG franchise whose beautiful storytelling will make even the toughest of the tough shed a tear. But today, we're shedding a tear for an entirely different reason. In this video, I'm going to see how far I can progress in Xenoblade 3 with just tanks. And a bunch of random rules I regret adding. Yeah, I did not think this through. Anytime the game forces us to use a non-tank does not count. No soul hackers, because not only is soul hacker the most busted class in the game, it's not a true tank. We will only be able to use tank-related gems, accessories, skills, and arts. This means we can't use accessories meant for other classes, and we can't use neutral accessories either. There is a level cap, and we cannot go any higher than the level of an upcoming boss. And really quick, one thing to mention here is that we had to begin this on New Game Plus because it allows us to start as early as the Hillside Ferronis Hulk. Once I reached that point, I leveled down to the last enemy I fought and switched all the classes to tanks. To keep things fair, I did make sure not to use the stronger accessories until I progressed further. And with all that out of the way, here's how it went. Spoiler alert, not very good. So of course, the first thing I did was find a unique monster to fight so I could get a feel for the challenge, and I mean honestly, who doesn't do that in a Xenoblade game? And it went pretty smoothly, which is a stark contrast compared to what you're going to see later in this challenge. Moving on, we traveled all the way through Aegis Wilderness and landed at our first boss, Silvercoat Ethel. This was a pretty tough fight thanks to being underleveled, which totally wasn't us being lazy and avoiding grinding. Tyon went down pretty fast, followed by Noah and eventually the entire team, which prompted me to go to the menu and optimize some of my arts. Went back into the battle, Uni and Tyon went down pretty fast on this attempt, but Mio was absolutely killing it with her evasion, and we ended up pulling through. Which means, next up was Consul K. Pretty easy boss fight, nothing to really note here. His Mobius form was pretty easy to take down, although we were definitely beat up after it. Next up is Strange Kevis Soldier, and I don't know about you, but I think the only thing strange about this soldier is how bad of a class he is. Anyway, this was an easy fight, but it led us into our first roadblock. Incomplete Siege Lev. This was a nightmare, honestly, and it took me at least 4 hours to beat it, mostly because grinding time. I mean, like, have you ever punched a brick wall with your bare hands before? No? Well, I mean, me neither, because who would? But this fight gave me a pretty good idea of what that would feel like. We did eventually get it, and I'm very lucky because I was debating on whether to do a chain attack or not, and I'm very glad I did, because look what happened as soon as I hit the chain attack button. Anyway, moving on. Lepus, easy. Princess Arachno, easy. Lambda Ferronis, tough, but doable. I mean, the hardest part of the fight was keeping our freaking allies out of the blaze field. Consul J. Very hard, but once we got to level 26, it was possible. We did have a very close call at the end with only 4 characters alive, bleed on pretty much all of them, and he was charging up an attack that was sure to kill us, but we took him out just in time. Now at this point in the challenge, I really felt like I was learning how things worked with just tanks. Like, I don't know, I felt like something clicked. My chain attacks were consistently decent, and I wasn't having too much trouble staying alive. The ideal party setup at this point was 2 heavy guards for regenerating meat shields, 1 Zephyr as a delay tank, 2 Nipponic champions to help break, and 1 lone exile as the main DPS. And of course Ashira, because, well, she's the best hero in the game in my opinion, and she just so happens to be a tank, so it works out perfectly, doesn't it? The next handful of bosses were very easy, and it seemed at this point our greatest enemy was, well, ourselves.
Nimble little so-and-so sliding down here on a rope.
What? Again? Okay, we are gonna be very careful this time. I don't know why. What the fuck? I'm not, like, do I not have the ability? Do I not have the ability I need for that, actually? Oh my god, that explains so much. Anyway, the next challenge came in the form of Mobius ONP, which is very fitting because their name is literally OP. We ended up getting wrecked here a couple of times, and I was stuck here for a couple of hours until I grinded up to about level 32. Their high damage and AoE attacks definitely made it really hard, but I did realize that Uni and Tyon's Ouroboros order actually heals you. The next section of the game felt very smooth, very smooth. It had us going through Syrah Hovering Reefs, which had some very conveniently lined up enemies, which allowed us to level up very quickly. We got up to level 37, and we attempted to take on Mobius D&J here, and it did not go well at all whatsoever. He's completely relentless with an AoE, yes you heard that right, AoE damage over time attack, and he has high damage output. Needless to say, after just a few attempts, I decided to go grind because I wasn't about all that. I made it to level 40 and decided to take him on again. It still didn't go well, and I was beginning to think I'd have to call the challenge there, but I saw a glimmer of hope and tried it a few more times. On my 4th attempt at level 40, we got down to the very end, just lands in Senna. D&J didn't have much health at this point, so all I really had to do here was avoid his blaze fields and make sure to only use my shield wall as needed, and we beat him. I'm gonna be honest, I thought Queen of Kevis was going to be an absolute nightmare, but it was actually super easy. I beat her on my first try. Now, the next section of the game takes a very long time to get through, having us travel across the entire Erythia Sea until we finally arrive at Gondor. This was a pretty easy boss fight because the smash damage dealt in chain attacks spreads to all the enemies in the fight, making Aggie and Augie go down pretty easily. Next up is Leagard's Prison, which is a very tedious part of the game, making you do a bunch of random tasks, like collecting stuff or defeating various enemies. Yeah, anyway. Once we got through all that, it was time for Mobius a random robot. Now it's time for Mobius M. The first fight was pretty easy, but surprise surprise, we have to fight her again. This time, she gains the ability to mind control one of us at random, which led to a very stressful fight. So remember how I said Tyon was my only actual DPS? Yeah, well, he died first in this battle, along with Ashira, so my chain attacks were practically worthless in this fight. Everybody else ended up surviving for quite a while, but by the time I was ready to use my second chain attack, we were down to just Uni, Lands, and Senna. Uni died right after the chain attack, of course, leaving us with only 2 characters. And it was actually a pretty epic fight, as long as you ignore the fact that I was essentially wailing on a sandbag for 15 minutes straight. But no, seriously, it was pretty cool. Lands and Senna made an awesome final stand against M, even though she kept mind controlling us. The shield wall tactic helped us a lot here, and
I was the MVP.
Moving on, so little did I know I was about to enter the toughest fights I'd had yet in this challenge. Mobius in, super high damage, AoE, and a bleed. And also a very weird obsession with shredding the straw man. Whoever that is. I spent quite a while fighting him at level 48, but that clearly wasn't enough, so I went off to Grindland. Yeah, it was not that fun getting the experience I needed from those birds. Once I hit level 49, I came back to fight him and things still weren't working out, so I decided that's it, and I switched back to my full heavy guard party. The fight took a long time, nearly 40 minutes, but we were able to pull it off. The next fight with him somehow felt like it actually went smoother than the first time, and then we were met with Queen of Agnes. Now, unlike Queen of Kevis, Queen of Agnes was a bit harder, but still nothing to really note here other than I had to play a lot more actively because her lightning duo slash skill was wrecking my characters, but other than that, very easy. So unfortunately, Queen of Agnes was the very last boss fight where any issues I had were easily solved. The next part of the game forces you into Mio's Ascension quest, which normally is not a problem, but we are playing with tanks only. The first fight pits you against 4 people at once. Now, I did take quite a lot of damage here, but it was pretty much the same thing as the Gondor fight. The AoE smash damage helped us out a lot, and it was over pretty quickly. But the next fight was so tedious, I think I'd actually rather watch paints dry. Yeah, the next fight was Mobius Y, who has the highest amounts of HP for a boss at this point in the game. 3,763,400 to be exact. In fact, you don't even see another boss with that much HP until you run into Mobius Y again in the Origin fight. I had to try so many different tactics against him. I was stuck on him for days, and I had hour-long sessions trying to beat him. It actually probably is the first time I'd ever say I did not have fun in a Xenoblade game. So we started off with our default loadout, the one I mentioned earlier. I figured it would be fine since, I mean, this loadout provides me a lot of damage, but unfortunately Mobius Y didn't seem to care. Eventually I just realized I was going to have to hit the level cap to have a chance of beating him, so I went back and I grinded for a while. Yay. I went back at level 54 and I fought him again, and yeah, no, it was garbage. I did notice something funny here. Mobius Y can apparently be looped harder than a killer in Dead by Daylight, but at the time I didn't think much of it and carried on. I was starting to get annoyed at this point and tried to go with a full Guardian Commander loadout because they have a unique skill which supposedly allows them to take damage for nearby low health units. But I never really saw this help out, so that didn't work that well. I switched back to Heavy Guard and I tried brute forcing it a few times with some strategic shield wall healing. Nope. So I decided screw it and I allowed myself to interlink. While our damage output certainly increased, Mobius Y still didn't give a spark. Attempt after attempt after attempt. I even tried breaking another rule and putting Lucky 7 on Noah. Nope. I took a break at this point, and I'm not gonna lie, I didn't feel like coming back to this challenge, but I did, and I won. Sort of. So what happened was, when things started looking rough, I started looping Mobius Y around. I literally sat there, absolutely killing my thumb for over an hour. Yeah, seriously, over an hour. You don't believe me? Look at this. At the very end, I was distracted talking to my chat and I accidentally let him catch up to me and he killed me. But there was absolutely no way I was about to sit through that again. And since technically speaking, he would have died had I continued the loop, the chat and I decided to call it a win. So with that being said, I temporarily swapped to a normal loadout and killed him to progress to the next boss. And okay, I'll be honest, it's time. This was it. I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I couldn't beat the challenge. I couldn't beat it. Okay, I dare you to try this yourself. You're probably laughing at me. You're probably about to hit that dislike button, and actually I don't blame you. But no, seriously, I couldn't beat it. I am, however, still happy with how far I made it. I mean, Mobius D&J, the second fight with him, that's like 80% of the way through the game. I will definitely take it. But anyway, yeah, fighting them both at the same time is actually kind of impossible with these challenge rolls. D throws out a Giant's Blaze field, which even if you pull your allies out of it with the follow leader command, it doesn't really matter because J just keeps spamming puppets, further increasing their DPS. And with how low the damage output is with tanks only, there was no way we were going to be able to knock out those puppets and continue to survive D&J's onslaught. Now, there's a chance there's some special combination of classes you can use to get through the fights, but the thing is with these rules, you're so limited, I'm not sure that's even possible. And me personally, I couldn't figure anything out. And truth be told, even if I did make it to Z, he has literally 8,517,600 HP, and I'm not gonna lie, I think I'd rather embarrass myself in a grocery store than sit through that. Overall, the challenge was definitely still interesting and it was fun at the start, but yeah. If anyone else is somehow able to beat it, let me know, and also props to you for having the patience of a saint. Thanks for anyone who tuned into my live streams for this challenge, and thanks to everyone who made it this far in the video. Goodbye.